What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy 8bit79, and in this one we do have a couple of things that we need to discuss. The live stream, of course, Monday, July 22nd at 6 p.m. PDT. Convert to your own time zone. So we are getting a live stream for the Deadpool and Wolverine V1020. So make sure you keep your eye out on that. We also did get the second sneak peek. We did cover this in the last live stream. Deadpool is getting his tier 4. So all of you guys that was waiting on that, it's finally coming. Looks like Wolverine's getting a new uniform as well. And we are also going to be getting Cassandra Nova. So something to keep an eye out for. You can see the tier 4 right there on the Dynamite stick. And then, of course, a couple of hours ago, they dropped the key art for this thing. So it looks like they're only going to be 3 characters deep. We got Wolverine, we got Deadpool, and we got Cassandra Nova, of course. And then down here for the live stream, we have the Merc with the Mouth is all set to clash, land into the upcoming V1020 update. And then you also have the Deadpool and Wolverine will have to work together if they want to defeat the sinister Cassandra Nova. So interesting that they would use the word sinister right there. And then, of course, if we go over here to the forums, we have greetings agents. This is CM fragment of Marvel Future Fight. Agents, are you ready to experience the blockbuster action of 2 superheroes who just can't get along? Get excited for the July update featuring Marvel Studios Deadpool and Wolverine. Discover the enhanced abilities of Deadpool and Wolverine with their new uniforms and face formidable new supervillains Cassandra Nova in Marvel Future Fight. I got a feeling they're going to be making Cassandra Nova some kind of boss. Maybe the new game mode is going to be tied around her reading this. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. I was also thinking that with the Deadpool and Wolverine update coming and X-Men 97, after that there's nothing really left on the books for the rest of the year. I think we have the Agatha Harkness thing coming, but after that there's really nothing. So that pretty much leaves this hero update voting event that they dropped the results for earlier this year, and they've already touched on Sentry, Mr. Fantastic, Hulk, Doctor Doom, Quicksilver, and my guy Anti-Man here. So who's left is Crescent, Medusa, Weapon Hex, Emma Frost, Apocalypse, Agent Venom, Psylocke, Null, and War Machine. So out of those 9 characters left, I figured we go through the skills, see what they have, see who has the most potential, and how they may be dropping these characters in an update in the near future. And y'all let me know what y'all think. Now, just to start it out with my girl Crescent, she does have the increased guaranteed critical rate of 15% and skill damage bonus damage as a part of the uniform passive, so that's okay. You also have the physical attack increase of 35%, super armor 50%, all basic defenses, and then 30% damage reduction. You also have Crescent and IO passive, and then she also has leadership. Her heal, I don't believe, was too good. She does have 85% chance to penetrate everything with 5 seconds of invincibility and 100% chance to ignore target dodge rate on a 16-second cooldown with a frenzy buff on the 5th skill. Yeah, the heal was 15%, but she has a 100% chance to reflect physical damage, and she also had a really wonky counterattack skill, so it really never made her very useful. In PvP, but it is there. Hopefully they can do something to address that. Moving right along, we got my girl Medusa, really mainly lead for Black Bolt. She doesn't have anything on the uniform passive. She does have the guaranteed dodge and guaranteed critical rate, skill damage bonus damage, and 15% heal with the 70% frenzy buff. So really big buff. It did make her a good damage dealer in her day, but when tier 4s and all of that started rolling around, she pretty much took a back seat to all of that. And then of course Black Bolt got his tier 3 And with the Inhumans, 45% damage to supervillains and then 45% damage for universal types, really only makes her useful for Black Bolt, but his lead is better. So it really kind of left Medusa in limbo. Seeing as how there are no other Inhumans in the game that are useful, it'll be nice if we saw her in an update with something like Crystal and Karnak and the rest of those guys, Maximus, Gorgon. That would be really, really dope. Also, I find it very sus that Weapon X made the list. I think this was solely so they could do something with the Infinity Warps characters and give them an excuse to kind of give them an update. And we've only seen anything for Arachnite, and that was during the Into the Spider-Verse Volume 2 update, so really kind of sucks. Once again, one of those characters that's never gotten a uniform. She does have an interesting mechanic with the illusion, being able to heal all allies, so that's pretty good. She also has the decreased debuff duration, but what I found most interesting about her kit is she has increased active buff effect, and we know this to be a really, really powerful skill for characters like Captain Marvel and Rogue, right? With the energy utilization passive. The only difference is she doesn't have the increased buff duration, so hopefully they give her that. She also has the increase all attack by 15%, all speed, all defense, also by 15%, and the 5% critical rate frenzy buff with the damage reduction. So pretty good. And she was also the all defense down machine for back in the day, but we've long since passed that era of the game. So hopefully with that decreased debuff duration and working that with some damage accumulation, maybe some damage buff, they can give her, bring her into the same realm as somebody like Red Goblin or something like that. Moving along to the next three, we have the mutants. And of course, starting things out with Emma, of course she has the artifact, and this thing goes up to 35% of 50% of physical attack. But even at 4 stars, this thing reflects 25% of damage received, and because it's on an artifact and not on a uniform, she's gonna have this forever. Unless they actually change her artifact. As a uniform passive, she has the increased energy attack and the incapacitation when 50% chance when attacking. So that's actually pretty good. She also has 60% chance to penetrate, 100% chance to be immune to mind damage, and 50% mind damage increase on her tier 2 passive. And then on her 4-star passive, she gets guaranteed dodge rate, skill damage of 20%, bonus damage at 10% with a 40% HP heal. And one of the really good counterattack iframe ignore skills in the game is Possessed by Emma. Hits really hard, has super armor, also has a frenzy buff, it also has damage accumulation, so a lot going on that skill. She's got 3 seconds of invincibility on the 3rd skill on an 11-second cooldown, and then she also has a 30% heal with another frenzy buff, some snare, silence, charm, and mind control with some all defense down on the 5th skill. So really, really strong character. Hopefully they can do something with her, Betsy Braddock, and Apocalypse all together in the same update. Speaking of Apocalypse, this guy was really Alliance battle meta in his day. The uniform pass, he has a 20% ignore defense, 35% chance to penetrate with mind immunity, so this 35% chance to penetrate with mind damage, which was kinda strong, I guess, for its day. He also has the ignore target dodge rate of 50%, skill damage bonus damage 25-30, and the V-pad skill on the 3rd skill with 100% chance damage immunity with frenzy buff. For the 4-star pass, he has super armor and some decreased basic damage received. He also has 18-18 all attack, all defense lead with 6% speed. Hopefully they can do something to buff that thing finally. And then on the 4th skill, he had that really minuscule 15% heal. Like I said, he was ABX meta because he had so many skills: burn, the bleed, the stun, the silence, all built into his kit, along with some mind damage to boot and some bleed as well. So could really do some damage in a lot of seasons in ABX. He was ABX for I think over a year. So really strong character for his heyday, but has since fell out of the meta. But a tier 4 in a new uniform could change all of that. Moving right along to my girl Psylocke. You know, the uniform doesn't look very great, but for the passives and the abilities that were on there, she hit really hard. 30% HP increase, some ignore target dodge by 40%, some skill damage bonus damage of 15% on the uniform passive, and then on her 4-star passive, she had some 30% crit damage, 30% guaranteed critical rate, 35% mind damage increase. She was all mind damage as well. She also had 30% mind resist, immunity to mind control effect, which at the time was, I believe, really good for master mode GBR. I do believe we had Galactus by the time that came out as well. She also had the guard break immunity built into her kit. Nothing as far as the lead is concerned, just the mind resist, and then 60% damage proc on her 5th skill on an 18-second cooldown with some bleed, charm, and mind control with some paralysis. 35% attack buff with mild defense down on the 4. She had the V-pad skill with the 16% heal that actually ticks 3 times over 3 seconds with a 100% chance to grant all damage immunity on a 14-second cooldown with a frenzy buff on the 3. Really good character for her day. Like I said, she was all mind damage. Love to see her, Apocalypse, and Emma all get something in the main update. Probably gonna be something along the lines of an X-Men 97 maybe, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving along to the last 3 characters on the list, we'll go ahead and get the number 2 ranked character out of the way, because I kind of want to do Null and Agent Venom together, seeing as how they both share the symbiote tag. This guy had crit rate and crit damage, or guaranteed critical rate by 30% and critical damage by 50% on his uniform passive, so really massive buff. He also had the resistant armor that applied to technokinetic allies, so that's going to be Iron Man, Rescue, Ironheart I think is also a technokinetic ally, Ghost is also a technokinetic ally, but it's going to apply to those sorts of characters. Increase all attack by 40%, increase all basic defense by 40%, and a 30% HP bump. He also has a 35 or 30% physical attack lead that applies to all allies. And then he also has on his tier 2 passive, ignore target dodge rate by 30% and a 35-20 skill damage bonus damage buff with 30% damage decrease. And then of course on his 5th skill on a 15-second cooldown, he had the all attack buff with invincibility and silence. Stun on the 4 with a V-pad and 15% heal. And then he had the paralysis with 100% chance to damage immunity with some damage accumulation on the 3rd skill. This is a really good support for his day, but for the technokinetic allies when Iron Man was doing this thing, but you know, I have to wait and see. Maybe they do an Armor Wars or something like that. Or my guy Agent Venom with his artifact, he actually gets I think 35% increased basic damage dealt, and it goes up, or it's 25% HP increased basic damage dealt enemies with 25% or higher HP, and it goes up to 20% at 6 stars. Decreased basic damage received by 15%, I do believe goes up to 20% at 6 stars as well. So that's on his artifact. He'll have that all the time. That applies to symbiote allies, along with the 35% chain hit damage reduction and 20% chain hit damage increase on the uniform passive. And then on the tier 2 passive, he gets some crit damage applying to himself by 40%, guaranteed critical rate by 30%, and increased damage dealt to super villains. And then on his 4-star passive, he gets the Wolverine heal with the 50% HP bump when his HP drops below 30% on a 100-second cooldown. He also gets some damage accumulation in there on his 5th skill. Some ignore iframe on the 4 with 33% chance to penetrate, 5 seconds of invincibility, and a 50% damage buff for 8 seconds. He also gets 100% chance all damage immunity for 4 seconds on an 8-second cooldown. So that's really good. He can keep that up all the time. So with all of those buffs and passives going on for symbiote allies, he would be a really good candidate to pair with this guy and Silver Surfer in order to make that symbiote team. No, we still haven't built. Of course, he really wasn't too great when he came out. He was the second native tier 3 character, as you guys can see. As far as the leadership goes, he has 60% damage buff for symbiote allies, so that's a lead that we can use in place of maybe somebody like Silver Surfer. But if not, still have Silver Surfer to fall back on. He also was the first character in the game to have the undead passive, or what we used to call the null passive, guard break immunity when the HP doesn't drop below 1 for 6 seconds and it bumps back up to 75% after the effect ends on a 120-second cooldown. He was the first guy to have this, and where everybody else has it as an artifact, he has it as part of his passive. So we'll have to wait and see what they do for an artifact for this guy. They may wind up moving this to the artifact, so, and maybe even improving it. So I wouldn't be surprised. He also gets an increased chain hit by 20% when attacking, increase additional pierce damage, one of the first characters in the game to have that by 5%, and then decrease basic damage received by 35% with a 12-second debuff removal on a 20-second cooldown. So really strong stuff. He also had 20% heal on the 5th skill, 6 seconds of invincibility, 35 all attack, all defense frenzy buff with 45% critical rate. Really good. He also had stun on and paralysis on the 4 with some damage accumulation. And then on the 3rd, he had this ability that had ignore targeting on it with 100% chance to penetrate with some stun, silence, incapacitation, super armor, and 35% all defense buff. And then on the 2nd skill, he had a skill that continuously attacked like a beam attack, but it was a stationary AoE lockdown attack. Not sure if this thing had super guard break on it or not, but it does have stun, paralysis, incapacitation. You could just keep attacking continuously, and if I don't hit anything, this thing is just gonna run and just keep racking up hits. So yeah, be interesting to see what they did for my guy Noel coming to the game. Definitely I would lean into making this guy PvP and then just going from there. Y'all let me know what y'all think. What do y'all think about the live stream for the Deadpool and Wolverine? What do you think about X-Men 97? What do you guys think about the new game mode that could be coming to the game? Sandra Nova, is she gonna be free to play or is she gonna be paywall? You know, what do you think about the rest of the characters that are left on the hero voting event that we've yet got? The infamous Nazgul, the 9. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man, and we'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.